I do not want to think of where I will go after death, where she throws anger like toy blocks across keys. Mothers and fathers want to touch more than carved names, worn photographs, flowers left behind. My grandfather was very fond of goldfish. My grandfather is not superstitious, but he loves goldfish, living, breathing Asian symbols of good luck. Still wearing silk pajamas, he feeds open mouths that break the smooth surface of his pond and follows flashes of orange, black, and white, silver-scaled carp. With eyes of a younger man, he shows me the graceful fins and streamlines until my skin glows red, iridescent in the sunlight like swimmers that glide in waters soothing as the womb. My reflection floats, but I want to plunge in and taste waves. Evening comes. Grandfather gathers the family and brings light to the slender fish darting into our dreams like flares. Fireflies spark the cold shadows and waters of night with the slick tails that we can no longer touch. Years ago, when I was in first grade, I created my first piece of art, first collage. My small hands tear purple, brown, and yellow paper into jagged apple trees. Sprinkles of leaves toss in autumn breeze, sharpening the scent of burnt branches, bonfires, hot cider. Sweeps of gold and crimson, warm hands, hair, skin, breath. My fingers grow 4, then 7 trees into a surreal forest against the night sky of construction paper. Scissors cut a ghost. It wanders among trees and foliage like a lost fawn haunting my childhood, that fairy tale where I only know life. Before I learned to fear darkness and ghosts, death was only a poison apple knocking Snow White into a deep sleep. Before I know that the apple Eve and Adam shared is foreplay to man's fall, I know only of its sweet taste. My father passed away years ago, and it made me think about the brevity of life. Last will. I do not want to ponder death. I bury my head in my hands, but I hear Christmas carolers singing outside. If I cradled a plastic skull and furrowed my brow, I should be ready to accept the brevity of life and savor every minute as I plot out my last days. I do not want to count my gray hairs or wrinkles. I do not want to watch my father, my mother, my family, and friends walk out one by one, saying goodbyes, as if it was natural to relive the past by clinging to memories and old photos. I do not want to list what I own. I leave all I have to you, my husband. What I have is yours, my body, face, love. My books and dresses are yours to share with my sister and nieces. I want to stay in your arms. I do not want to think of where I will go after death. Heaven, I hope, and pray to God to forgive my sins and transgressions. I do not want to live through 1,000 cycles of life and wonder each time if I will be man, butterfly, or some creature crawling and searching for love. Years ago, I washed my grandmother's hair, and I felt a certain closeness, which you feel when you're really close to someone. Washing grandmother's hair. As she leans into blue porcelain, warm water invites her black hair, streaked with silver strands of wisdom. I'm afraid to pull out for her. Slowly her eyes and wrinkles ease into the balance of a delicate face destined by a Chinese fortune teller for long life and good luck. My hands grow soft with hair falling and swirling in the water. My fingertips shampoo gentle clouds drifting through the knots of her scalp, where an acupuncturist's hot needles burn the seizures of her youth. As clear streams soothe and cleanse, I cradle her head of shiny dark hair while she rises and laughs like a young girl sharing secrets. Okay, here we go. Okay. Grandmother at 18. From her leather purse, my grandmother slips out a faded black and white photo and laughs. I was a pretty girl at 18. We gaze at her glossy image again. Curled hair, bright eyes, bright lips above a mandarin collar of a silk dress. She recalls how she waltzed and glided like a lady, balancing Western books on her head at a boarding school in Hong Kong. In English, she teased classmates. Winning at mahjong, her eyes glowed. Favorite daughter of the mayor in Canton. Young suitors filled her arms with roses, oranges, chocolates. Tell us about falling in love with Grandpa. Tucking her photograph aside, she whispers, "Don't get married if you want to stay young." Dreams. Yeah, this one, for years, I always dreamt of searching for and finding a beautiful seashell when I lived in Charleston, South Carolina. But then I learned later on that there's always these beachcombers that wake up at like 5 a.m. in the morning, and they actually snatch them all up and they sell them to the stores. So I was never able to find one, even though I always dreamt of it. Dreams. Lightning dove, apple blossom, cantaloupe. Shells, miniature caves where we peek inside and plunge down swirling slides. Salted pink caverns, echoes of a different sea. Which brings us to the beach, searching for starfish, sand dollars, dreams, in a desert of chipped cups and vases left by snails, sparkling glass, miles of sand, that we leave to the dark sea, the night, the shadows who flock at dawn, tossing our dreams into heavy sacks, crushing ones shaped like sad pebbles beneath their boots, leaving only scattered footprints on an empty beach. Okay, this is one of the first poems I wrote years ago, because at that time I was very into painting. Portrait of the Girl Who Whistles. The artist examines the female model, her face, color, hair, and expression. His fingers caress the brush, swirling vibrant oils, alizarin crimson, Naples yellow, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and more. The artist challenges the empty canvas and commits the first stroke. With a clumsy brush, he pushes color and freshness into the cloth. Slowly, the delicate features emerge, soft blue eyes, a nose, and puckered lips. The painted girl breathes and laughs with each sweep of blended pigment. When her raven tresses flow and cheeks blush, the artist smiles and drops his brush. The weary model leaves the stage, admires the lively girl who whistles and wants to dry. My younger sister was never fond of practicing the piano, so this one, based on what I saw. Performance. Descending upon the grand piano, my sister pushes slender fingers into ivory keys. Black hair flows across tense shoulders in pink silk. Dark eyes pulse with chords, arpeggios, notes. Running up and down scales, she accelerates like a racehorse. High heels pumping, carrying a bolero that leaves me breathless and takes me back home, where she throws anger like toy blocks across keys. Hands pounce, striking notes, music she is forced to play again. No Chopin sonatas tonight, no waltzes or sweet melodies caressing, plucking our hearts. Concertos become harsh finger exercises, rap with a strong beat, loud purpose. Energy jolts the house, our ears, stronger than shouting, slamming doors, or kicking holes in walls. Okay. This is a dear friend of my mother, and also me as well, and she taught me how to write some creative writing years ago when I was very young. Sherry. Flipping through my wedding photos, I catch your image, dyed blonde hair, raspy laughter, and drift in the summer afternoons, smoky with your cigarettes, cold lemonade, wrinkled pages, smudged cursive heavy with adjectives in my adolescent writing. Omit needless words, you grinned with Will Shrunk. You tossed me your books and stories that breathed and glowed. A new unicorn, gargoyles, children bouncing in new sneakers, your first kiss. Years later, you loved my poems. Painted girl who whistles, blue roses, shadows fading into our last evening together. I didn't stay past midnight to hear your stories, the blur of beer, sacks, and the damn cigarettes that took your life. I wrote this poem years ago after going to the Vietnam War Memorial. Black granite, sorrow cast in stone, dipping into darkness one soldier at a time, as names and death consume the wall, the nation stretching year after year. 58,249 lives face our searching eyes, the young and old, fellow soldiers. Mothers and fathers want to touch more than carved names, worn photographs, flowers left behind, as American flags blur reflections on wars that bring no peace. Thank you.